All right, well, welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt, and with me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. And Eric, this is a early Saturday morning, so no beers, but I do have inside my Inside BBI pint glass. I got a nice little Bloody Mary going, so
You and I are not in sync. I got water. So
what? Last time
when
you
I have
had the
Bloody Marys, you have water and vice versa. So we're not in sync. Okay.
Well, we're working on it. It's good though. That way, one of us will always be the designated talker if necessary.
Yes.
So we're good. We're good. This is the first Saturday one that we've done where we're coming off of victory. So this is different. It's uncharted territory, so to speak. Let's quickly just talk. I know that we'll get to the game. This whole week has been kind of up and down about injuries, who might play, who might not play. And then the rumors continue to grow about the Giants' interest in wide receiver. So let's start with the injury piece first. We saw the list yesterday. We've got a few guys out. We got another one that's doubtful, which pretty much means out. So we'll kind of let's recap that, what we're looking at, who's out and who's playing, and who are we a little worried about.
Well, it's strange that, we had a 10-day break and you thought they'd get a little bit healthy, but then they seem to be even worse than they went in. So Slayton's is doubtful, so he's not playing. Schmitz is out, and while some people are going to say that's an addition by subtraction, he has actually played two of his better games the last 2 weeks and seem to be coming out. That's another thing with Schmitz, Neal. Who am I forgetting about? Our other guard from North Carolina. They keep they keep getting hurt. So Izudu and Neal have missed games. Well, so is Schmitz, but Schmitz doesn't miss as many games, but he's often hurt. So these guys keep getting hurt, and he's out with a concussion. And two inside linebackers, which is going to affect them having to bring up linebackers again. And who am I forgetting? Oh, Abdul Carter mysteriously appeared on the injury list and is questionable. Now, the reporters who talked to him in the locker room on Friday seemed to think he was in good spirits, which suggested to them that he was going to play. So I think he's playing, but it stinks that even he's hurt right now. So they've got 12 guys on the injury report. 5 of them are not going to play. 7 of them are probably going to play. It just stinks that I was hoping they would come out of the break with just a couple of guys on the injury report.
Yeah, it's weird, right? We got that mini bye. That's what you call when you play Thursday and don't play again until the following Sunday, mini bye. And then all of a sudden, Abdul Carter's name is on the list. And I was like, and hamstrings are because clearly you list it. The NFL requires you, if you even know about it, you have to list it. So it could very well be one of those, here's a side effect that could happen with the medication, but it happened one time out of like 300,000, but we still have to say it.
Right.
That being said, hamstrings are tricky, and I don't want a guy whose game is based off explosiveness to have any sort of injury like that. So that'll be one to watch. The Schmitz part is interesting because clearly it looked like he broke his nose as well. That definitely, his nose looked pretty messed up when he was walking off the field. So you got a combination of a concussion and a broken nose. The good thing about at least that is that it didn't happen like at the very end of the game, and we're going into this with the center not playing. Schlotman played the bulk of the game once that injury. He played the entire second half of the game. So at least there I feel a little more comfortable. But if he struggles, that means Van Roten slides to center. The Giants then have to bring somebody else in at guard, and now you're really juggling things. So that was the one unit we've had since Thomas came back has been very cohesive, and now we've added a bit of mystery to that for this game.
And it has to be really bad for them to start moving people around, though. He'd have to be
true.
I don't think that, but it does show that they made the right decision on keeping a backup center so they don't have to start juggling the other positions right now. Because if they didn't have Schlotman, they'd have to do what you're talking about. They would have had to put Van Roten there, and then they'd have to bring in maybe Evan Neal. Obviously Stinney's ahead of him, but you don't know how they would have juggled the line. So,
well, that brings up the question with some of the changes. Do we expect to see an Evan Neal to be active in this game, or with other injuries at linebacker and a couple other spots, especially a wide receiver, is it more than likely he's still going to be one of the inactive?
I don't know. I don't know. He's been inactive all year. So, which again sort of begs the question if there was, and we don't know how serious the trade talk was, but somebody contacted the Giants and said we'd be interested in Evan Neal. Now, it might have been such a ridiculous offer that they had no interest in doing it, but is any offer for Evan Neal ridiculous at this point? I don't know.
At this point, when you're inactive, we are 6
Yeah.
games into the season. Evan Neal has not been active one time. And we went into the season missing the left tackle with some guys that were banged up to begin with on the offensive line, and he still was inactive.
Right.
That pretty much tells you where the Giants' thought process is at with Evan Neal. So looking at the Slayton part, doubtful, we expect to be out. Doubtful usually is out. Again, what are we losing per se? I'm not really sure. Based on last week, I think you can scheme around the lack of Slayton. It's really the lack of neighbors is the thing that's the big piece here. But that piece with Slayton, though, that does bring into question. The Giants have been supposedly, depending on who you believe, but the term big game hunting for a wide receiver. There's been a lot of talk about.
And your guy that you mentioned.
Thank you. Yes, Jalen Waddle, which we talked about. And the signs.
So you mentioned Waddle in the last podcast.
Yes.
Because you brought this subject up, and I was like, yeah, who's really out there in the market? And you said Waddle. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Now that would be somebody I would be interested in. So there are other names out there that have been people bringing up. But Waddle you brought up, and it was the one that gave me pause, too. Then I'm thinking, well, that's probably a pipe dream. But everyone keeps talking about Waddle now. So
well, the reason why is that the Dolphins are on the precipice of a major teardown.
Right.
When you have your quarterback come out and he calls out some of the players, and then some of the players or even past players called him out for like not showing up to meetings and being late, you can see where this is going. Tyreek Hill is out for an extended period of time, probably won't even be ready for the beginning of next year. And I have a feeling the Dolphins are going to try to get away from that PR nightmare anyway, if they can.
That was a bad injury. That's a bad injury.
It was a pretty ugly injury. McDaniel may not be coming back. He might not survive another couple of weeks. The Dolphins are in very bad shape. So cutting cap and getting rid of players and rebuilding that way does seem like something that's on the horizon for them. Now, Waddle, to me, why I'm okay with some of the trades. I know a lot of people, and I think you I don't want to speak for you, but I think you side slightly to draft pick piece where I don't really care about that as much right at the moment. If you are getting me a younger guy who's already under contract for a couple of years, I don't want an older guy that's on contract for 1 year or 2 years, because at that point, now you really are, you're overspending for this particular part of the season. You have no idea where this is going to go. But if you get me a guy who's going to be here 2-3 years and is a component piece to Malik Neighbors when he returns, then really you're kind of building for next year now instead of waiting for the draft. The one other thing about the draft, I'll say this. I know Cy mentioned about not wanting to spend premium picks, and he's not a Waddle guy. I like Waddle. I think Waddle brings a tremendous amount of speed to this team that they just do not have outside. We have guys that are supposedly fast, but they don't play fast. Waddle plays fast. He is a little smaller. But the Giants, if they have even a decent season, and you can use whatever term you want for decent, but let's say they are 7-10, 8-9 after the way they started, and Jaxson Dart seems to be the guy you're going to build with, you can move down in round one if you want to and pick up extra picks. They'll have room because a quarterback needy team is probably going to want to move up, or somebody else is going to, and the Giants will have space to move down. So I don't worry about the draft, like second round picks, fourth round picks. Well, I don't care about that right at the moment. What I care about is, are you getting a guy, and is he going to be a long-term piece to this team? That's what would make sense.
8 and 9.
You serious?
8 and 9.
That was my prediction at the beginning of the season. I can't walk away from it.
I agree with everything you just said. I don't like parting with draft picks ever. However, like you said, Waddle is a younger player, still ascending, can be a part of the core group of this team. The Giants are going to have to draft a wide receiver anyways. You could kind of say, well, we're trading for a wide receiver now and getting him, and he's ready, and we know he's not going to be a bust. So I'm okay with that. However, what I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around is this. We don't have a 3rd round pick. And if other teams know Waddle is on the market, why would they not jump in on this and drive up the price? So I would be very careful. This isn't a great wide receiver draft. I know you don't care about the draft as much as I do, but it's not.
No, I love the draft. Don't get me wrong. I love the draft.
There are wide receivers in this draft who I have been eyeing with the 1st or 2nd round pick that would very much help this team and be a complement and a young. Again, one of the guys I was eyeing is quickly going up the board is Mekhi Lemon. Now, Collins got him going to the Giants now at like 9 or something. I was hoping to get him at the top of the 2nd round if we had a bad year. But there are, Carnell Tate's out there. You got Tyson from Arizona. There are guys out there. So the reason I'm mentioning these names is, remember, the Giants are not going to the Super Bowl this year. If they can get a Waddle at a reasonable price, I do it. But if that price keeps going up higher and higher and higher, I would use that draft capital to get one of the young wide receivers who's then under contract for 4 years at a cheap price, whereas Waddle is going to be more expensive. So,
True.
But Waddle, when you mentioned Waddle, I was like, that would help. I would prefer to have a tall, big receiver who can run like Waddle, but we're not getting that. We're not getting it. So there's going to be a little bit. And Waddle's been one of those guys I've always, when I watch the Dolphins, I'm like, he's good. You watch the Dolphins when Tua was playing well. He was one of those guys you were like, wow, that's a good football player. I think he's underrated. And he's one of the few guys that would definitely interest me. I also, I don't know if I should mention this or not. If you've noticed, there's a couple of asshats on the website who are basically suggesting that this is.
Do I need to do an alert? Do I need to do an alert across the screen? Breaking news?
No, but I think you've seen them. I mean, there's people on there. Capiche and I think another poster has posted that. This is, and he talked about something about like Deonte Banks being part of the trade, which would supplement what you've been saying, get him off the team. And so, I don't know if people picked up on Capiche's comments earlier. He comes and goes. He's mostly been right. He's whiffed on a couple. So we'll see about that. And again, trades. I've run this site for a long time. I've talked to people privately about trades. Sometimes the trade looks like it's going to get done and then it falls apart. And it falls apart because of different reasons. Either the price goes up or another team jumps in, someone gets cold feet. It's like the Stafford trade. The Giants were talking, and that came out. We broke that story that the Giants were talking to them about Stafford last year, during the season.
Roughly around this time, a little bit later, maybe a week or two later, but because the Rams started off very poorly. They were they had a win, then another loss, and that Vikings Thursday night game, had that been a loss,
right,
it seemed like they might be in the market of moving guys and they were going to call it, but they ended up winning that game.
Right.
So that changed everything. And
that's what I heard too, was that game did change a lot of things. Now, I don't think we were in it this year. I think we were being used. But last year was different.
Correct, during the season.
It shows you how things can change at the spur of a moment, though. And that's why I get mad at people who get mad at asshats. Because, some of them are bogus, and some of them are trying to pretend to be something that they're not. But other people are hearing things that just because it doesn't come true, it doesn't get, doesn't mean that they didn't hear something.
Sure.
So don't run these people off, guys. They're part of the fun part of the site, is they hear that. If you don't like that stuff, as I've said for years, don't pay attention to it. Get off that thread. If you think it's crap, ignore them. Let us, other people who are into this shit.
The other narrative, I'll say this, why it makes sense for the Giants to want to be looking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said it. I know Cy definitely said it. Wait until you've won a couple more games. And then the problem is when you do that, you drive up your own market. The Giants, as we broke down, I broke down I put that schedule piece up last show. There are 6 games through the season. This is where everybody was. And it worked, by the way, it worked out. One of the pieces worked out. Washington lost to Chicago. So now we've got the top of the division. One team has 4 wins. The Giants are bottom with 2. The Cowboys, they've got 3 losses on the season with a tie. The Skins have 3 losses. So this division is kind of shrunk back together a little bit, and the next couple of weeks could really change things. So overall, though, the Giants have to look at it in this next 6-game stretch. You need to be 4-2 really if you want to say you're going to be in things moving forward. Of could we fight for a wild card? Could we whatever? That's really what you would have to look at. 3-3 at a bare minimum, but that kind of puts you're behind the 8 ball at 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
If you can finish 6-6 after 12 games, that's a massive win for this team. So you got to win 4. It doesn't matter which of the next of the 6 games, you need to win 4. You have to win 4 of them. So the Giants are looking at what are we going to do, but you're also trying to build around your quarterback. And the only way I can truly get that guy and see what he's got and really know what he's got is if I got people for him to throw to. And if your best receiver right now is Darius Slayton and he's not even playing, that's a sad state of affairs to begin with. You know, the fact that little Jordan Humphrey could come off the practice squad and be one of the big targets in that game against the Eagles says all you need to know about where this position group is. I think you don't wait closer to the trade deadline,
right?
Because then you're driving up your own market.
Well, there's other factors to think about here too. So one is you might be losing games because you don't have a wide receiver.
True.
So it becomes even moot at that point. So say the Giants lose their next 2 games. So right, first the trade deadline is November 4th, and that's coming up. So keep in mind the deadline is the 4th. We're at the 18th of October right now. So we're not talking there's much time left. Say the Giants lose 2 more games and they're 2-6. At that point, are you still trading for that wide receiver because you're not likely to be in the playoffs? Right. And the other thing, which is more important, this isn't Madden. You just don't get the receiver. He walks in and then he immediately is ready to go. He has no idea what the playbook is. He has no idea even the language of the playbook. He has no idea about – the Giants run a very complicated offense. Everyone has said that for years under Dable, that this is a complicated offense. So whoever you bring in here, he's got to get caught up to speed. And so we've got 11 games left. Right? Am I doing my math right? Yeah, we got 11 games. There's not a lot of time left. So if you're going to do it, you better do it now or don't do it. Don't do it and then just get the draft and free agency next year and bring and get your guys then. But if you're going to do it now. Don't. If I'm doing it, I'm actually kind of surprised something didn't happen this week, because I don't see the point in waiting right now. If you're going to do it. If you're not, don't.
Well, I think you also need the other party has to play. You know what I mean? I think it sounded like things actually that the Dolphins, again, take this with a grain of salt. I don't have personal knowledge. I'm going with a couple of things I read, which was the Dolphins originally were not listening to offers, but all of a sudden now we're engaging in conversation. And I think after they looked so inept at the end of the game against the Chargers and just how bad they've been looking overall, if they lose this weekend, I think you can see a whole bunch of things going south with the way the coaching staff has been. There's a lot of questions on how McDaniel runs his team, the fact that Tua's calling out his players. So question was...
Wait, what was the team that was saying that they were not even trying hard in practice? Was it the Titans or was it the Dolphins?
It was the Titans that did that bad practice week leading into the loss of the Ravens.
I just want to make sure. So that wasn't the Dolphins.
No, the Dolphins was Tua said that they had a players-only meeting and some players were late and some players didn't even show up.
Oh, God, that's not good.
He literally said it, and then he comes back and he walks it back. He goes, I said some things, and then the media runs with it. I'm thinking they didn't run with it, dude. You said it. Like, what did you want them to do?
Can you imagine if that happened to the Giants, the reaction on BBI, if there was a player-only meeting and people didn't show up?
Right.
There'd be a meltdown.
I mean, it's
bad. Everyone, I'm done with these.
It's bad enough when the players are meeting without their coaches, but then they don't even show up for that either. That's. Am I wrong? Was Brian Daboll at Alabama at any point in time that Jalen Waddle was there as well? I'm trying to do the time frame.
I have to look that up. I don't know.
Because Daboll was there when Hurts and Tua were there. So I think maybe Waddle came after the fact. But either way, he would have connections back to Alabama, clearly. It just seems like I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but there's a lot more smoke to this one. And it came out really fast. After we said it, I'm not taking credit for that, but after we talked about it, all of a sudden it was being talked about. So I have a feeling that this is not just somebody's, matching two things up Dolphins are bad, Giants need a receiver. The fact that the Giants were already being matched up with Chris Olave, and that still continues to come up, tells me that this is probably legit. When you hear the term big game hunting, I believe it. Now, here's the other factor, and I just want to ask you this. Do you think maybe that there might be a piece to the Giants that are trying to put something together, knowing their owner is sick? We don't know how ill, by the way. We just know that he's in treatment, and it sounds like it's not great. That they're giving a glimmer of hope, giving some wins, making that maybe now's the time to make a run. And there's other reasons for Dayball to want to do it. Obviously, he wants every reason to stay, and his guy is playing. I need him to have weapons. There seems to be a lot of things here that are going to put something in motion. I have to believe the Giants are going to do something at wide receiver.
Possibly, but that would be pure speculation. I did hear something minor about that the owners do, not directly related to on the field stuff. I'm trying to say this in a way that's not going to get me in trouble. They do butt into things that you wouldn't think they should butt their heads into, even on the PR stuff. And I'll just leave it at that. So if the family feels that he needs a pick me up, that maybe. So I'll leave it at that. I think.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's just it's just trying to put things together. But I get it. You could get, if you remember, was it 2006? 2006 when Wellington Mara passed, and then there was was it 5 or 6? I think it was 6, but I could. Was it 5? Was it 5? So there was that huge emotional win. Everything was. I mean, it was just this big thing. And if you think about just that kind of thing and relate it to with somebody not dead, but thank you for 2005, not dead, but certainly dealing with something that we don't know. It's obviously bad. Like it's not. Well, like
we don't know. We don't. Again, let's not speculate on his.
It's cancer. Bad enough that you're doing chemo. It's not like they just took some skin cells off and said, okay, you know what I mean? Right. We're dealing with treatment. So there could be a piece of this that says, hey, we're turning it around a little bit. Go for it. Go get us some wins. It'll be interesting, but I have a feeling the Giants are going to make a move regardless. Like one way or another, they're going to get somebody. Because the good feeling that they have right now, I doubt they want it to go away. Even if they were to lose to Denver in Denver, they're not going to want that feeling to go away just yet. You come back, you're going to have a game with Philly. You got some other games at home. They know this is still a longer season now with 17 games. I got a feeling they're making a move somehow. Right. It's just a matter of whether it's a big move or whether we waste stuff on a guy who's on the back end of his career.
Well, there's two things finally on this subject for me is one is there's too many people talking about this. It's not just ass hats on the site. It's not just rumors on Twitter from other people. I think even Ricky came out with, this has been circulating on Twitter, but now reporters are reporting it. So it's not just like this is stupid ass hat talk. It's coming from a variety of areas. It's coming from non-Giants Twitterverse, BBI people who have been plugged in the past, and like now we got a couple of reporters that cover the Giants saying they've heard that this is going on. So whether it happens, I don't know. Now I will say this: I know you've said this. I don't care about draft picks. I get that sentiment, but if we go into the draft next year and we have a first-round pick and no second and no third, we're going to feel a lot differently at that point. Because, again, we're going to be watching Philadelphia and the Cowboys and the Commanders taking all these players, and we're going to be going, damn it. And we feel like we're falling behind. So it's easy to say now that doesn't matter, but you'll feel differently next April. So just
to a degree, but again, see, you're projecting here to there with nothing in between. The offseason has free agency. The offseason, the Giants could drop down from 1. Again, if you've got your quarterback, one's not as important. The Rams have made an absolute killing off dropping down out of 1 over the years and having a bunch of second, third, fourth, fifth round guys that really worked out. If the Giants want to pick up more picks and just have more shots at players, you drop down in 1. I'm not going to worry about it or fret about it at the moment. If I get a guy that will be part of that team next year. That's the big part.
But what if it's like an Olave and he gets another concussion?
See, now he's a huge question mark for me because of that particular thing. That's the part you've got to look at. That injury thing is really huge. So compensation, if I get Olave, the compensation A is very low, and B, it is definitely going to be contingent on whether or not he plays X amount of games. So really, it would be a low 26 and maybe a much higher 27, depending on him being available. That's the only way I would do that.
I'm just going to say, if we have our draft podcast next year and we don't have anything to talk about, it's going to suck.
No, that's true. Very good point.
Our Eagles have another pick. We're just waiting around drinking. All right. Okay.
The good point.
But there are other names that were being mentioned, wasn't there? There was
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers. That was the other.
Calvin Ridley was mentioned by Cy, I believe. I threw him out there as a possibility.
And Connor Hughes, I think, mentioned Jacoby Myers as did somebody else. Right.
And then can everybody please stop? We are not trading Kayvon Thibodeau for Jawan Jennings. Why would you give up one of the better defensive players you have to get a guy who would be at best a number 2 or 3 receiver? And that, I mean, if Slayton's playing, Jennings is really a 2. Like, he's not the 1. So I'm not giving Kayvon Thibodeau up for Jawan Jennings. Please stop that craziness.
And remember, Abdul Carter's hurt right now. So this is where our depth right now. And the other thing is Golston's hurt. So everyone signed Golston before the draft, before we had Abdul Carter. So he was going to be the backup guy, and he's hardly played because of Abdul Carter. But now when we kind of might need him, he's hurt too. So at this point, you're not trading Thibodeau for a variety of reasons. I'm not.
So one thing we talked about real quick, as far as like acquiring players, I just want to cover real quick. The cap space wise, right now we're way at the bottom, but the Giants can make room, and they did make room just recently, and that opens the door to maybe they're doing something else. But that also could just be to get by. They were so low, they had no choice, I think, to make room. But next year, we're in the middle of the pack right at the moment. But the thing about next year that's very interesting, the Giants have right now $216,000 of dead money. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a ton of room. If they want to play around with contracts that would move money next year, they can move a bunch around. We could open a ton of space right now that would also open space for next year. They have a lot of room to maneuver in that area. So something kind of interesting to look at there. Mm-hmm. You look at some other teams. For 26, the 49ers already have $21 million in dead money for next year. So again, dead money doesn't mean anything. Cap space is cap space, but it does mean something because it is eating up space with players that are not on the team. And the Giants have very little of that next year. They have room to play if they want to this year, to make room in future years, to bring a guy on board long-term.
Okay.
No.
But if I do it, I would do it soon. I would do it next week.
Well, I would watch this too, right? The Giants are the bad part is the Giants are a 4:00 game. If they were a 1:00 game, this would mean even more. Watch and see who plays and who doesn't play for other teams. If somebody kind of gets yanked and doesn't play half the game at wide receiver, but he's a guy that would normally be playing, keep an eye on that. The teams tend to, if they've got a deal in the works, they don't want the guy to get injured. So that'd be something to keep an eye on. Linebacker, you just mentioned, real quick, Golston, again, I don't know what his deal is, but he can't seem to stay healthy or play. But we are getting back, and I'm going to let you say the name because there's no way I'm going to get him right.
Get Jay.
There we go. Thank you very much. So we do pick up a guy.
Too. He's coming off the pec injury he suffered in the spring, and he's practiced all week, but they have him list him as questionable still too. So he can't be in football shape. If he's playing, I would assume it's just special teams to start with.
Probably.
I don't know. So we'll have to see if he's even active. They might want to ease him in too. I don't know. He only just started practicing this week.
The one other position that doesn't get talked about trade wise, and then we'll switch to the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be out of the realm of possibility of the Giants making a deal for a linebacker. And keep an eye on Cincinnati. Logan Wilson has been basically benched. He played very little the week before. He played Thursday night. He played a little bit, but not a ton. that's a guy, if you could get him somewhat on the cheap, that could come in and help out and play, inside linebacker. He gives you some size. He's got some ability. Yeah, he might be on the backside of his career. I'm not sure. I don't know what the deal is in Cincinnati, but that guy has a lot of talent and somebody that I would trust to know what he was doing. And that's my big part here is once you get past Okereke and Musau, we basically got nothing. I mean, it's just throw whoever you can throw out there. So keep an eye on linebacker might be a possibility too.
Yeah. But again, what do you give up to get these guys? I mean, again, Giants don't have a third, so you're talking about
got Evan Neal, baby. Evan Neal.
If you get rid of some of those guys, yeah. Okay. Denver.
Let's switch to Denver. Which side of you want to start on the Giants side of the ball, or should we start with Denver?
Your dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice. We'll start with Denver because the one thing that I think we need to pay attention to a lot, right, is there's a lot of talk that Denver's got a great defense. Denver's better at this. Denver's got this. Giants don't have that. Denver's offensive line is not very good right at the moment. They are so not good that they started Matt Parrott last week at left guard.
He's on IR now, too.
He's on IR. At left guard, Matt Parrott. When you saw Matt Parrott with the Giants, he did not look like he could make a transition to guard. They had no choice. They put him at guard. And he did exactly at guard what you would have thought he would have done at guard. He had multiple penalties very early on, somehow ends up injured, and he's on IR.
No, he's still in the NFL. That's just how bad the offensive lines are in the NFL now.
It's crazy to think about. They are thin, though. They have a lot of injuries on their O-line. Garrett Bowles is a holding machine if you can get pressure on him to his outside. I think the Giants could make some hay here, but stopping the run against the Broncos' makeshift line is going to be key.
Yeah, you're not wrong about the offensive line, but their running backs are averaging almost 5 yards a carry. So, look, one of the things I hope we don't run into, maybe it's me and I'm being a homer. Do you have the impression that the other teams are getting away with a lot of holding penalties against us? It seems like some of our guys are getting held to me quite a bit in the last few games. I hope they let Dexter play. Dexter should eat this line up, and I hope they allow Dexter to play without grabbing at him. And again, we probably haven't spent enough time on Brian Burns this year. Brian Burns is having an awesome year. So I just hope they let these guys play because I think they can make hay. But Denver's running game is scary. And the Giants played the Eagles. They played Barkley really great against the run, except those first 2 plays. And I don't count that one run at the end of the first half when they were just coming off the goal line. But besides those 2 runs, they really did a nice job on Barkley. If they can do that again, look, I firmly believe that if the Giants are going to win this game, they've got to keep the score low. And our defense can't let Denver score, I don't know, more than 20, 22, 23 points. I think we'll be in trouble if we get in that range. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but they're only averaging that Denver's defense is holding opponents to around 16, 17. Is it 15.8? I think it's like 16 points a game. And I know, granted, they've played some crappy teams, and that's a factor in it. But their defense is legit. They're at all 3 levels. They're legit. They can man up with our receivers easy and just play 8 in a box against us and just say, Scattaboo, you're not going to beat us. Tyrone Tracy, you're not going to beat us. Dart, you're going to start scrambling around. We're going to beat the crap out of you. That's what I would do if I'm Denver. I'd be like, little Jordan Humphrey and Jalen Hyatt, you're not doing anything against our corners. Go ahead, and I put everybody up at the line of scrimmage and dare the Giants to beat. That's why I think this is a really tough matchup for us. And I'm not optimistic about this game, especially the only thing I will say is what you've said earlier. They're coming off a long trip and they're probably tired and they're probably looking past the Giants a little bit, though the Giants should have ignored this war of words this week. That's again, I don't put much stock in that normally, but you wanted Denver to kind of look past us. And now this whole thing is going to, they certainly are not going to come into this game being like, not interested in playing the Giants. I don't know if everyone's been following this, but there's been a Twitter war this week with the Giants and Bronco players. You've seen that, right?
I have,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say something that you say often about something else.
Mhm.
When everybody says Jaxson Dart needs to stop running, you got to do this, you got to do that. What do you always say? That's who he
That's
is.
who he is.
That's who he is. Well, guess what? Jaxson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, that's who the Giants are.
Right.
They're going to talk shit. You're going to talk shit. They're going to talk shit back. That's just, they're young. They just do. I don't care about that.
No,
What I'm
it's not. It's not. I'm not pearl clutching over the
Oh, no,
fact
no,
that
no,
they're
no.
talking shit. I'm a little bit pearl clutching that this wasn't the week to do it because I wanted Denver to kind of look past us. You know what
Well,
I'm
see,
saying?
no, and I do, and I agree with you. I understand what you're saying there. But here's what I think about this: let them. Now you're a little amped up.
Yeah.
You seem a little cocky. You kind of want in. Are we gonna get? Are we gonna get a few penalties here? Are you gonna take a couple of late hits? You gonna hit you gonna hit Scatterbo when he's down? Are you gonna hit Dart when after he throws the ball? Are you gonna take some penalties? If I'm the Giants, if I'm Dayball, I'm walking on the field and I catch the refs early on and I'm talking, I'm gonna be like, watch for some cheap shots. We've been told they're gonna cheap shot us. Watch for cheap shots. Make sure that because these guys are amped up. First off, who the hell is Jonathan Cooper? I mean, you haven't done shit in the NFL other than you live off the fact that Benito is really rushing to pass like there's no tomorrow. But you haven't done anything yet. Why are you talking so much crap about Jaxson Dart and about Scatterbo and stuff? I'm like, and why are you talking about the Giants fans? We haven't won anything in forever. By the way, we have your old shitty quarterback as our backup quarterback. I don't know why you're
It is
so
a little
amped up.
odd that it is a little odd that they seem to be a little annoyed at the Giants.
Jealous, right? It's like jealousy of like attention.
Of
It's like a
what?
weird. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a weird sort of. Do you get that? Do you get that way with other teams' quarterbacks who get attention when they come in? I mean, Patrick Mahomes, are you all upset at Mahomes' attention? You should be. He kicks your ass often. You should probably, but Dart hasn't done anything yet. He did beat one of your bigger rivals that I believe you lost to. So that's probably of interest. What I'm liking is be amped up, Denver. Go ahead. It takes emotional energy to be amped up all week long like that, then come into a game. You're coming off a trip to Europe. You played a Jets team that you should have blown out. And the reason you should have blown them out, they had -10 passing yards. -10. How the hell do you get -10 passing yards? But the Jets managed to do it. The Jets scored 11 points. 6 of those points occurred because they took the ball deep in Denver territory on first down and still ended up with 2 field goals.
Yeah.
You had to use a lot of emotional energy to beat a team that offensively was never in the game, but you still had to hold on at the very end to beat them. So this game overseas went down to the wire. Now you fly all the way back home and you spent the week talking shit about a team that you play once every 4 years. Okay, I'm glad that it's so important to you. I kind of hope they are amped up. I think the Giants need to do a different tact with Denver, and that is, I know we talk about like we want to go up tempo, screens, stuff like that. I slow it down. Once again, I slow it down. I want to come out in 3 tight end formations when I split some tight ends out wide, but I want to run different variations of plays. I want the same guys out there, but run different plays. Don't let them know whether you're running or you're passing, but keep big formations, move big guys outside. Kansas City does it all the time. They'll put 2, 3 tight ends out and they'll spread them out. Giants need to do that to just keep them honest. Keep them honest early because that mental wear, that physical wear from Europe back to Denver, that's going to play on them in the second half. The Giants have to weather the storm early because I think Denver's going to come out quickly and try to get on top of it fast. If the Giants can weather that and they keep this game close, second quarter, third quarter, the emotional toll is going to start to weigh on Denver. They've spent a lot of energy over the last 2 weeks. A huge comeback against Philadelphia. They trailed that entire game, and they came back late in the fourth quarter to I believe, they overcame 2 touchdowns to come back and win. Then you play the Jets. The game goes down to the final drive of the game for the Jets. You had to hold on just to win 13-11. There's a lot that plays in the Giants' hand, but they have to weather the storm early to be in it.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do because the obvious assumption is going to be is that our wide receivers are going to be able to do jack against their secondary. That's the assumption. Now, maybe they'll surprise us and maybe they'll be like a 50-50 ball or something. But the assumption is so the obvious thing, and people have been posting it in the comments section, is you throw at the tight ends, you throw at the backs. Denver's going to know that too. But that's,
Sure.
what I'd like to see at some point is this. I, 'cause, you know, 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 again, one of the pet peeves I'm having, I'm gonna go off on a tangent, then come back to this in a second.
Okay.
One of my pet peeves this week, and I don't know where this is coming from, other than the fact that as Giants fans, we've been so beaten down for so long, and we're so happy that the team finally not only won, but they beat the Eagles, who we can't stand, in a meaningful game, not at the end of the year, but in a meaningful game. But my goodness, the Giants talk, even nationally, this whole 10 days has been through the roof. YouTube is filled with, and TV's filled with everyone talking about Jaxson Dart and Cam Scadaboo. They can't get enough of them, which is great. They're fun. I love it. But everybody's like, Giants, 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 Giants. And I'm like, we've just won one game. What, it's not like we just have a 5-game winning streak going here. Calm down. I want people to be excited, but again, we haven't turned any corner. And so some of this is making me nervous a little bit too, is like, guys, again, now if they go into Denver and beat Denver, I'm going to start believing too, but I'm not there yet. So I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm just like, tap down the expectations a little bit. But with the Giants play Denver offensively, what I'd like at some point for them to do, and I think you mentioned this at one point, is Scadaboo beat the crap out of the Eagles. And as the game wore on, and I keep saying this, they didn't want any part of him. It was like when O.J. Anderson was in his prime, and he just wore people down, and they just didn't want to. You can see it when someone's trying to tackle somebody; they don't really want to tackle them. They avoid. It's not just what you picked out, like the Adoree Jackson play.
He doesn't want to tackle if it's the first quarter.
There were other people on the Eagles that were good, that are good players, that didn't want anything to do with Scadaboo. I would like to sort of start that off, and then at some point bring in the Lightning, which is Tyrone Tracy, and have them so used to the hammer hitting them, and then maybe have Tracy come in when they're beaten down a little bit, and then get them with some big plays. Not that Scadaboo can't get big plays, but we know that Tyrone Tracy is capable of being like breaking off a 40-yard run. I would like to do that. That's not the Giants' DNA. It's not who they are with this pounding, but maybe they can kind of turn into that, because I think the offensive line was feeding off of Scadaboo and the Eagles. They were being more physical than I've ever seen them in recent years in terms of run blocking. So maybe they can do that. So I don't know how they're going to attack. Well, I do know how they're going to attack them. I just don't know if it's going to work, because they're going to be so loaded up in the box against us. That's my assumption.
I would think so, but again, that's where I'm like, let's slow it down and let them think whatever they want to think. What happens too easily previously, or what would happen too easily previously, is the Giants would come first down, right? You'd have Manhertz and usually Bellinger, but it'd be Manhertz and Johnson. You'd have the one back. You just have the receivers out, and then we would call a pretty standard, probably run between the tackles, or if it wasn't, it was a fake and then kind of a drop back and look around, and that was the play that we would run. Second down, then you would see Manhertz would go off, then they would bring in. Now you already told the team what you're doing. If Manhertz stayed out there, you were running again. Keep the tight end group out there. They did it a lot against Philadelphia. They stayed in the same personnel a lot, and then they would get up and move them around, spread them out. Now Denver doesn't know what you're doing, even though the package of players stayed the same. The problem, you become very predictable, and it's very predictive of how things are going to be when you go package specific by down and distance. Don't do that. Don't tip them off on what you're going to do. I would like to see them do a couple of formations that seem, where we've seen it before, that it seems pretty obvious that it's going to be Dart, and have him kind of roll, but then not run. Like, make the line slide, make it look like you're pulling him, but you're not, and then slip somebody deep and let him throw one. You got to make sure that you keep them to back off, because if you just run the sweep, with Dart taking it and then running a pull to that side, after a while, the teams are going to figure that out, and someone's going to shoot one of those gaps, and Dart's going to get blown up. But if you can suck them into thinking that, and I think they need to do that, you're going to burn somebody deep. Now, the other part is little Jordan Humphrey was on the Broncos. He knows them as well as anybody. Now, does he have super talent per se to man up with these guys? Well, not necessarily, but he knows how their defensive backs play, and he gives us some size. I think you're going to see there's something about Dart to Humphrey. We saw it in the preseason, and he instantly looked for him Thursday night. I think he's going to look for him again.
Right. And the other thing I was interesting, and I had forgotten this, is Carmen Brasillo was talking to the press on Thursday, and he mentioned that he's very familiar with Denver's defense, given his time out with the Raiders.
Right.
So
right.
so that's an added benefit that it's a good thing when your offensive line coach knows the opponent very well, and that'll help us a little bit. So I think this is a very interesting game. Look, I'm not ready to jump on the bandwagon yet. I don't expect the Giants to win this game, but if they go in there and they do win this game, then I'm going to start going, whoa, maybe we've got something going here. But this is there. You know, last I looked, the Giants were 7.5-point underdogs. I don't know if that line is switched or not, but that's the original. That was the opening line. I don't know if it's moved at all, but there's a reason why Denver is very heavily favored to win this game. I do share your sentiments about. I think Denver is beaten up on some teams that aren't very good, but I still respect the hell out of their defense. What do you think of Bo Nix? So obviously he was played very well last year as a rookie. I think he's been okay this year. But not stellar. But I don't know if you agree with me on that.
I'm with you. I think Bo Nix is kind of what you thought he would be ultimately. I think he's a very smart player. Mm-hmm. I think he's very system limited, meaning I think Sean Payton's system is perfect for him. If the Giants had drafted Bo Nix, I don't think it would work out well at all. I don't think the system that the Giants played under Daboll would have worked well with Bo Nix. It works better in Denver. The way Sean Payton plays, he's got a little bit of a Drew Brees to him. You know, he's similar size. He doesn't have a cannon of an arm for sure. He's got a decent arm. He does move around, but he's not a full-on sprinting kind of guy. I don't think he's as athletic as Jaxson Dart is running around, but he can definitely run. He won't run as often. It's been up and down. They started out with the Titans, a bad Titans team, and they won by 8 on the first week of the season. Right. They lost to the Colts, but that was also because they were stupid enough to get a penalty.
You can't stop Danny Dimes. You can't stop Indiana Jones.
They would have won that game, but they got a penalty on a field goal attempt, which gave another. They lost to the Chargers in a tight game. They blew out the Bengals, but that's the Bengals with Jake Browning, and everybody was blowing them out at that. Then they had the big comeback against the Eagles. I believe they were down. Was it 14-0, 14-3 at one point? So to come back and win that game as they did, the Eagles collapsed in the fourth quarter. They were up by 2 touchdowns. So then they beat the Jets 13-11. Their offense has not been great.
Yeah, it's kind of been, and so I was very surprised that they're running the ball so well and not scoring more against. We'll see. I don't want to get my hopes up.
Sure.
It is Denver. And again, if Malik Neighbors was playing, I think I would be way more positive about this game. It's the fact that Malik's not there. Slayton is not in there. And I know a lot of people are like, screw Slayton at this point. But again, I'd rather have Slayton than Jalen Hyatt at this point. So then we see our old friend Evan Ingram, don't we? So
well, see, now I'm glad you mentioned that because that scares me. I don't like Ingram, and he was bad with the Giants. But he's turned to be a decent player. And the one problem that we continue to have,
tight ends,
we cannot stop the tight end. Sorry,
Paul. Maybe he'll drop 2 or 3 passes.
Well, you could hope. You could certainly hope for that. He has not been a big focal point for them this year, which is odd. But
I think they're 17 catches or something like that, or 15.
Their outside crew is Cortland Sutton, I believe, Franklin, and Mims. Mims is a guy you got to worry about because he does have speed. That he's small, but he's got speed. He brings stuff to them on the special team side of things too. So I'm a little concerned that way. I'm more concerned with just the Giants. So let me ask you this. I'm going to pose questions in chat as well.
Yeah.
We've had 3 starts with Jaxson Dart. Each one of those starts, the first time the Giants touch the ball, they drive the field and they score. Will they do that for a
Oh, that's not going to continue. That won't be continued.
Will it happen in this game?
No, because the odds are stacked against them. I mean, if it does, it'd be really cool.
I'm going to go with the answer is yes.
A touchdown?
They're going to score a touchdown in their first drive. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I think the odds are stacked. Given the opponent and given just the odds of, you're a gambling man. If you were putting money on this, you'd put money down on them.
I would on this one because here's the thing that I've seen so far. There's something about what they're doing on the first drive that's catching teams off guard. We've seen it that last couple of games, they did it twice, right? They did it against the Saints 2 times, first 2 times, boom, boom. The Eagles 2 times, boom, they go down the field. But then there's this lull after that. It's like the other team kind of figures some stuff out. The Giants have recovered with the Chargers. They maintained and held the whole way through. They recovered with Philadelphia, and the offense got going again. The Saints, we just turned the ball over. But there's always the lull. But they start off very well. It's almost, God forbid, I'm going to just say something really bad here. It's almost 49er-like under Walsh, where those first 15 plays,
I get that.
They always figured things out, but then it quieted down just a little bit. The Giants seem to be well in those first couple of drives, and then they either get away from what they're doing or the other team's figured it out, and they have to adjust. But I think they're going to continue. I think they're going to do something kind of unusual on that first drive to keep them on their heels. I think it's going to work, and I think they'll score on that first drive.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right. I just think the odds are stacked against them. So if they don't everyone start freaking out. It's just, that's not the way the NFL is. It's not.
So
most teams do not score on their first drive all the time.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Especially a team that has Jalen Hyatt and little Jordan Humphrey. And Bo Collins at wide receiver.
What do you see the makeup of the wide receiver group being? Basically the same as again, or will maybe one of them sit? Will Collins be inactive again?
Jalen was a little nicked up in practice. Was it an ankle? Let me see. I think it was an ankle. He was a little nicked up in. He's probable, but I don't see him on the injury report. I thought early in the week he'd been on the injury report. Probably the same. I would assume Bo Collins is still a little bit in the doghouse a little bit. We'll have to see. I would assume I'm assuming moving forward that Dart's favorite receivers are going to be Wan'Dale Robinson and little Jordan Humphrey. And little Jordan Humphrey, I think he trusts him. They have a relationship together with them working on the same team in the summer. He seemed comfortable with them in the preseason. I think that he's going to throw to Jalen, but I don't think the comfort level's there yet. And one of the reasons is Jalen specifically mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, that he wasn't used to working with Dart. So I would expect Dart to kind of throw to those other two guys a lot, and the tight ends and the backs. I would like to see them use Scadaboo more in the open field and Tracy in the open field as receivers than we've seen. And remember, we ran a lot of screen passes in the preseason.
Yes.
That sort of disappeared a little bit. I'd like them to get back there. I don't want screen passes to Theo Johnson. I agree with Cy on that. He's not like this agile, quick guy that's going to make moves in tight spaces. Our tight ends, I would get vertical. I don't like them like these tight end screens. I would do more of it. And I think Dart is going to have to run in this game, either more on scramble type plays, not so much design, but scramble.
Right.
Because he's going to have to keep drives alive, because there aren't going to be people open. He's going to drop back and people are going to be covered, and he's going to have to run. And I expect Denver's going to spy him. The Eagles did that too, but again, he's got a little shiftiness to him that's sort of better than his athleticism. Like I said, I've mentioned that he left that linebacker in the dust on a 20-yard touchdown run. That linebacker should have been able to make that play. But Dart put this little move on him.
Little wiggle. Zach Bond went for it. One thing to watch for.
I didn't say this, did they? Did somebody say Theo was better than Shockey?
I think people have very poor memory about Shockey. If he didn't have some of the other crap that came with him towards the end, people forget just how freaking dominant he was as a rookie. That dude just changed the face of that Giants team. That Giants team had almost nothing left at wide receiver. I mean, Sonoris Moss was getting quality playing time. Herman Moore was on the team in 02. Shockey was the man for a while. And that if you take injuries out of the thing, Shockey could easily be up there in Giants lore with even Bavaro. And it's unfortunate he had some injuries, and some of the other stuff overtook it. But that guy was crazy good.
Well, his career didn't go the way we all thought it was going to go, and I'd like to know more about kind of what. I don't think it was just injuries. I assume he was just not.
There was some clashes
going on.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're probably. I assume he's a heavy drinker too. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm not waiting.
I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be here for a long time as a really, really good football player, and it just didn't work out for him. But like you're right, early on, his first few years. I mean, my favorite play still is one of that one over Dawkins in the end zone, and he's talking trash to him as he's getting up.
It's really funny. If you go back and look at it in a way, God, it's really weird to look back this way. First off, for me, it was the preseason game, the Hall of Fame game against the Texans.
They ran over.
He gets face masked, rips right through that, runs down the field, and absolutely runs the corner over, just plows him into the ground. He had kind of a Jaxson Dart swagger when he came on. It brought a much different feel to the Giants team than what they had. We didn't have an offensive swagger with the Giants. We had
T. Barber in training camp with the players.
He got a fight with Brandon Short. I think it was over. They wanted him to sing at the lunchroom, and Shockey didn't want to. There is that thing. One thing to look for in this game, I want to just get back to this real quick.
Yeah.
The Denver's pass rushers are not overly big. Benito's not that big. Cooper's not that big. I want to see the Giants do what they did a couple of times in other games. I want Cam Scatterbo to chip as he comes out and just put a shot into Benito's ribs. I'm pretty sure at 230, and when Scatterbo hits you, you're probably going to be thinking about it for the next couple of plays for sure.
That's another reason why you might want to try to run on these guys, is they aren't very big, but they can rush the pass. They're like the Giants in that sense. Both their outside guys can rush the passer. The other guy I was looking last year, he had a 14% win rate on his pass rushes. So he's got like 4.5 sacks, and he's good. Of course, Benito's the headliner, but the other guy's good.
Right.
And then I was looking, I was like, my goodness, they have 12 guys on their defense who have sacks. So they can get after the quarterback. And power football optimists. Let's power football. I just wish we had more powerful guards,
It does help you to get a lot of sacks, though. When you play the Titans, you play the Jets. The Jets got sacked like 8 or 9 times in the last game. I mean, it looked really bad. Like, they were just bad.
Would you change your offensive approach next year because of Scatterbo? Would you look to draft bigger guards? More run blocking guards?
I'm certainly looking to continue the evolution of my offensive line going forward. Because, again, I've got a bookend tackle at left tackle. You've got a guy that we think can be a tackle for the Giants or guard. He could be either, but right now he's been playing tackle and Bo.
What about Marcus Bo?
I'm talking about Bo because Illuminor's not signed, so you can't count him. You've got Van Roten you're looking to replace, so that is open. You're hoping Schmidt stays your center. So now let's say that's 2 locked-in players. And then Runyon will be there, but he, again, another free agent. We don't have the guys that we've drafted and built and going to go forward. You still need to be doing that. That's the big flaw in some of the things that we've done is we've had to go get free agents to fill glaring holes, not take you over the top. And that's usually how free agents.
Well, and then plus Runyon signed a 3-year deal, and he would be entering his 3rd year, and you'd want to have somebody in the pipeline to replace him the following year. So it stinks. Izudu got, that was just, you're reading my mind here. It stinks that Izudu's still on IR. He's eligible. Dan Duggan, I think it was Dan Duggan. One of the reporters said he's actually healthy enough to practice again, but because they've been doing so much roster juggling, I guess they don't want to start the clock on him yet. So we were all thought he looked pretty darn good in the preseason. The problem is again, he keeps getting hurt. And it's like these other guys, it's being hurt. I mean, available is number one. You got to be available. So I don't know if you can really go into next season counting on Izudu because
I would think
guy can't stay on. If he pans out, great. He gives you more depth. And, I thought it was very disappointing after seeing the preseason that he got hurt again. And that was Neil's MO too, is as much as we don't like Neil kept getting hurt. Every year he got hurt. And then he would come in and he'd get hurt again. And that's kind of what's happened to Izudu too.
I would to answer Paul's question about could they trade Illuminor for a wide receiver and start Bo, you're not gonna do that. The cohesion on that offensive line is the most important thing right now. You can't get and we don't have depth. If you put Bo in, then what do? Now you got to have Hudson.
And then say Andrew Thomas gets hurt again, and then
Right now you've got to do both.
Then your
There,
James Hudson's coming back.
Hudson's back on, and so I think you're going to stuck where the Giants might make a move. See, I think the Azudu part really what comes into question is if you start the clock on him, then you got to do something with him. If you're going to bring him on the roster, who leaves? Because you're not going to add him to the offensive line group and everybody stays. Right. So I would think if the Giants move Neal, and Neal's a possibility to be moved. There's teams out there that need an offensive lineman, and he's a former first-round pick, and it's just a one-year deal for them. They're just finishing the year out. They're going to have to do what they can do. He brings size. Somebody like Baltimore, if they had injuries on their offensive line, he's a huge dude and fits their big offensive lineman kind of style. I don't know how well he can play, but I got to assume that they would go, okay, he fits and get you whatever you're going to get. You're not getting much. Like, really, we wouldn't get much of anything for him. But that would open the spot for Azudu. Other than that, somebody has to be injured in order for Azudu to really come on, because where are you going to put him? We don't need another offensive lineman on the team right at the moment.
Right. I can't get over how bad the Ravens are playing, but that's a different story. Anyways,
well, that's
right, should we make predictions, or how do you want to handle it?
Yeah, well, I mean, real quick, look across the league, because I know sometimes I like to do that, and I say this could happen and that could happen. First off, go back to what I said about the NFC East. Dallas plays Washington this weekend. Washington, by the way, is even more empty at wide receiver than they were the week before. They down again is McLaurin. Brown is on IR, and Deebo Samuel is questionable again for this game against the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. Now, the Cowboys are going to be without Trayvon Diggs because somehow he got concussed at his home. Something happened. He got concussed at his home, and he's out. Not that Dallas's defense really matters, but you have to put him on the field. If Dallas wins that game, Washington would now be sitting there with 4 losses on the year. Dallas has 3 losses already. They're bad. You want them to win because Washington's game next week is Kansas City. So that's for us. If you're looking at it from a Giants perspective, these are things you want to have happen. You want Dallas to beat Washington. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia plays Minnesota. I would like Philadelphia to lose to Minnesota. That makes our game with Philadelphia even more important. It takes some of the pressure off. Giants got to win their own games. Let's not look there. Teams like Baltimore, if they lose again, they could be sellers come trading time because the season's pretty much over for them this year.
Right.
They might want to get rid of some guys to kind of start looking ahead to next year. They've got some bigger salaries. They would be a team that a wide receiver, but it would be a short-term rental. A Rashad Bateman, maybe. You could probably go get. I doubt you'd want to get DeAndre Hopkins, but if you did, it would be for next to nothing. I'd give you a 27 conditional to get DeAndre Hopkins just to get a guy with size. But those are teams to look at. Miami losing again is a team to look at. That's if they lose.
Miami playing this weekend?
That's a good question. Let me take a look. I might be wrong. They might be on a bye too. Buffalo's on a bye. So.
If Buffalo's on a bye, they may be on a bye too.
They play the Browns tomorrow. So they play Cleveland, another bad team. So either one of those teams, because Cleveland, on the other hand, they have Jerry Jeudy, they have Cedric Tillman. Those are 2 wide receivers to pay attention to as well. If they're gonna shed people, they're another team to look at. So the loser of that game tomorrow, more than likely, is going to start getting rid of guys.
Can you imagine if Carson Wentz beats the Eagles? Oh, that would be funny.
Philadelphia has been playing, not to take away what the Giants did, but the fact of the matter is Philadelphia has been playing with fire all season. They should have lost to multiple games, and there's a lot of internal stuff going on there that another loss could blow it up.
And that's why I'm trying to tap down the Giants talk a little bit, even though we want it. We want the Giants to be excited. Let's see what happens. Remember when we beat San Diego? And we were like, wow, we beat San Diego. And then we saw what happened to San Diego the following week. And then we moved the ball up and down the field on Dallas. And then we realized that, whoa, Dallas's defense is really bad the following week. So now Philadelphia goes in and crushes Minnesota. Our win against Eagles will look a lot better. But if they lose to Minnesota, then, again, we have to realize that maybe our win against Philadelphia wasn't as impressive as it looked. So we'll have to see. What you and I have said this repeatedly on the podcast this year. I can remember like, well, that win or loss by the Giants doesn't look as good as it did when we played them. Even the tight losses, like when we lost to Dallas, we should have won. We were like, well, this is an indication that the offense is going to be better, and it wasn't, because we saw what Wilson was still the following week. He struggled mightily, and they had to bench him, obviously. So,
but
I'm sorry, not San Diego.
No, Los Angeles. It's fine. I didn't correct you. I knew where you're going.
Yeah. Give me a break. I'm old.
It's true, right? It's true. I totally agree. It's true. But the one thing about it, you got to look at it too, right? It is who you beat and when you beat them. I don't care what Philadelphia's issues are at the moment. The Giants went into that game with a really poor wide receiver group, with a quarterback making only his third start. He had won the first one, turned the ball over as part of the team turning it over multiple times against a bad Saints team. Right. So it was, and it's at home, and it's pressure, and it's big lights. And guess what? They didn't wilt, and they didn't just win. Right? It wasn't because Philadelphia did something bad and the Giants stole a game. They literally inflicted their will on them the entire second half of that game. Philadelphia did not score a point from the 6:26 mark in the second quarter on. Right. They did not score.
But they missed some things too. They had the wide receiver.
That happens in every game, though.
I know, John, but it happened. I mean, it's different if they hit that 86-yard touchdown.
But again, and if Theo Johnson doesn't drop that pass over the middle of the field, the Giants continue to drive. Dart probably never gets injured in that game at all, and the Giants probably never look back starting early in the third quarter. What I'm saying is, though, they did what they had to, and they held the thing complete. It wasn't like Philadelphia fumbled on the 1-yard line late in the game, and the Giants got a cheap touchdown, and they won the game. The Giants dominated the entire second half. They owned that second half, and quite frankly, if the refs actually paid attention to anything that Philadelphia was doing, their right tackle jumps every goddamn time the ball is snapped. The guard moved on the tush push play that would have moved them back. They wouldn't even have scored on that play. So yes, there's this and that and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is there's things about this Giants team that has been a little bit consistent. And that is, since Dart has taken over, the emotional level of the team is much higher. They play with more urgency. They have made some mistakes in the Saints game, and that sucks. But I don't look at it anymore like walking into games where you just knew they were going to lose. Mm-hmm. I don't look at it that way anymore. I'm like, you know what? This team can fight with anybody. It's young, but it can fight with anybody. I'm feeling like this game is going to go in a much different direction than a lot of people think.
Okay.
So, predictions. I'll let you go first since I know where you're going with it.
I think it'll be close, at least for a while. And I think they're just not going to be able to move the ball on that defense. I think it's probably going to be like a 20-13 game, that type of deal. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just not ready to jump on the bandwagon with this team yet. If we were playing somebody weaker than Denver right now, I'd be more optimistic, because I think the Giants have some really good momentum. And I do think Dart and Scadaboo have brought this energy to this team. And I think everyone's feeding off of it right now. But I think it's one of these deals where the schedule is going to come up and bite us in the ass, at least this week. And hopefully we can regroup and come back and sweep the Eagles the following week. I don't know if it's better for the Eagles to win or lose with Minnesota in terms of the following game with the Giants. It might be better if they do lose, like you said, and because they went through that stretch a couple of years ago where the Eagles just fell apart, and that would kind of work in the Giants' favor if that happens again. But I'm going to go. It's going to be a tight game, and the Giants come up short on this one just because they can't move the football.
I think it'll be somewhat closer, but I don't think it's going to be tight that way. I think it'll be tight, and then the Giants are going to pull away. And I think they will. They're going to score 27 plus points.
27 points.
27 plus points.
Now, remember, they're averaging. Their defense is holding teams to 16 points a game.
That's great. That's awesome. What I think is going to happen here is what I think is going to happen here is you're going to start seeing for once, and Bo Nix kind of plays into it. I watched him against. I saw him play the Chargers. I saw him against the Jets, he's giving guys shots. He's letting guys take shots on him. He holds the ball a little bit. He's moving around, but he's taking shots. And their offensive line is even more beat up now than it was the Chargers game, and even more than it was against the Jets game, because now you're replacing Matt Pert, who was already your third option at left guard. You're now playing somebody else. I think this is going to be, as long as his hamstring stays together for this game, I think this is going to be the one where Carter gets his sack. But Kayvon Thibodeau's the guy I think is going to, this is kind of getting him closer to the West Coast. This is a chance for him to kind of really stand out there. Burns is going to get a lot of attention. And I think Kayvon's going to really eat it up. The Giants are going to create some turnovers. The Giants defense is going to get a touchdown in this game. I think the Giants are going to win. I'm going to start with 27, but I think it's going to be more than that. I'm going to go, it's going to be 27-17 with the win, and then they're going to dominate the second half. But it's the first half where it's going to show the Broncos. The Giants are going to get off to a quick start, something that Denver doesn't want to have happen.
I'll be shocked if the Giants score more than 24 points. Shocked. I'll be shocked if they score more than 20 points. But we'll see. We'll be on here. We'll be on.
There
here.
we go. There we go.
We'll see. I hope you're right. I don't understand this comment by you're always Mr. Negativity, Paul. I mean, you up here you just said we're going to sweep the Eagles, but now you're also saying we're only going to score 13 points.
Yeah, Denver's not the 85 Bears. What are we talking about? I think he was mocking your 13
points. Second in the league, and they're second in the league in defense, and they're holding teams again under 17 points a game. So again, they're not the Bears, but they're good. They're very solid. They can man up with anybody and dare your receivers to beat you. And we've got crap receivers, so we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping. This is one of those games where I'm like, damn. What I'm hoping is what you said. They're coming back from Europe. They're a little fatigued, and they're not taking us seriously, and we punch them in the mouth. That's what I'm hoping for. But I'm not there yet. I'm sorry, guys. I can't. This Giants team, I can't get as hyped up as everybody is right now. Just because we upset a team. You can go back and throughout the Giants' history, even in the 2000s, where crappy Giants teams have beaten the defending Super Bowl champions, and the Giants have had like a 5-11 season.
True,
we beat the Cowboys with Dave Brown at quarterback when the Cowboys were like winning multiple Super Bowls, and we were just garbage with Dan Reeves. And that didn't mean anything. So we upset the Eagles. Give me a couple of wins or 2 or 3 wins in a row, and then I'll be on board.
I got you. I know you're the brokenhearted who's still questioning whether love exists. But if Jaxson Dart had started the game against Kansas City, I think that game is much different with the Chiefs. The Giants were in that game the entire way the first half. Which game? The Chiefs game. Russell Wilson could not get anything done with the Chiefs. The Giants played the Chiefs head up for most of the game, but their offense could do nothing with Russell Wilson. We then play the following week against the Chargers, and the Giants offense plays against that Chargers team. We lose our best offensive player in that game, and they still win. The Giants played a very strong game against it. They up and down the field with the Saints. They just turned the ball over. Literally, we lost the game. We didn't get beat. We lost. That's obvious. They turned the ball over multiple times, but they moved up and down the field. We moved up and down the field on Philadelphia. This team is a little bit different. That's not saying they're just going to walk on a field and win games, but they're no longer this team of going, oh, we can't beat these guys. Sure, we can. This team is defensively, we've got some known players. They've now got to start playing the way we've expected, but we started to get a little bit of glimpse of that. They played differently against Philadelphia in that game, and that was on a short week. They need to continue that. That's the piece. But this team is not forlorn. This isn't throwing out there, a receiver that they picked up off the street at the end of the season against Kansas City, and he gets a couple amazing catches, or Eli on his last legs, or whatever it might be, or Daniel Jones lighting up Washington late in the season, and we go from having the second pick to the fourth pick, and everybody cried because we didn't get Chase Young. This is a team now that the guy who's the quarterback is going to be your quarterback. That is pretty much where this is going. He's proven so far that you're going to build with him. He's got to do it long term, but you've got everything there. This is not a team that walks on a field and should just expect to lose. They should walk on the field expecting to win.
Head coach, who do you take?
Oh,
Who do you
that's
take?
no, I get you there. I
Defensive
can't wait.
coordinator, who do you take? Van, the Vance or Shane Bowen. I mean, so like that again.
That's not a that's a boy. I don't know. That's splitting
All right,
hairs
now
on
the
that.
other thing I will say this, I mentioned the preview. The Giants' 2 wins, they've forced 2 turnovers. Now people are going to say, well, duh, that's when you win the turnover battle, you usually win. But I think it's not a coincidence with this particular team, especially when the Giants get their hand on the football, they win. So if the Giants are to win in Denver, I think they've got to get at least 2 turnovers in this game. It could be a fumble recovery, could be on special teams too. But they've got to force a couple of turnovers. So both games that they've won, they've got multiple turnovers. In the games that they lost, they only had 1 turnover. So I think that's a huge thing for this team.
If you can force them into more obvious passing downs, that puts a lot of pressure on that Broncos offensive line. Again, Garrett Bowles is a holding machine. He's had a number of penalties in the past, and he does not do well with outside pressure. So the Giants really need to get to where they can pin their ears back. Dexter Lawrence has to show up a little bit in this game. He has not really taken over the physical presence that we've seen in the past. I think the elbow is definitely playing a role here. Some of the other guys have hinted that he just doesn't seem as in shape, and he came off an illness last week. So let's see where he's at after 10 days of rest and stuff. But this is a team that he's going to have to own that middle, and they are weak right now with injuries on the O-line. That's where you're going to have to win, is on the line.
Yeah, I'm curious to who's playing for them with out. If who's coming in and playing at that spot, because how is that guy? You assume that guy's worse than Matt. So I don't know.
You would have to say.
Unless he
have to be right.
Unless Matt was filling in for someone who was hurt and that guy's back. I don't know. I should have looked that up before when I was doing my preview. I didn't look that up, so I just thought that they placed him on IR. I agree. Dexter needs to have a good game for the Giants to win in this one.
They had Pert still listed on the depth chart at the moment, but he went on IR.
On ESPN's depth chart, they had him off.
Okay, so the backup that I'm seeing on the Broncos depth chart is Alex Palczewski. I have no idea, never heard of him.
Yeah.
Frank Crum would be the other guard. Well, he's a tack up. No, Palczewski's backing up too. You know what? I have no idea who they would be putting in as their other guard here. That's Denver's own. I'll check ESPN real quick while we're doing this. But
Denver Broncos
depth chart. It's Alex Palczewski, Palczewski, whatever you want to say his name, and then Calvin Throckmorton is the backup to him. They have injuries all over the place. They have Pert on IR, another backup guard on IR. They're pretty thin. Their center is Luke Wattenberg. They've got Quinn Menierez, and then this Alex Palczewski, I guess.
I don't know who that left guard is. I don't know who that is.
Let's see. Let's take a look at him real quick here. They list him as an offensive tackle, so he's literally been moved into guard. 26 years old.
Running the football so well with this offensive line.
6'6", 314. He's 26 years old. It's his 3rd season with the Broncos.
I see it. Yeah.
So we'll see, but I mean, he's a converted he's a converted tackle. So, and so was. But again, if he was so good, you would have already played him. You would have put Matt Parrott, who definitely is not a guard, but they moved him into guard to play for that game, and he looked bad. He took multiple holding penalties, and I think he also had a false start with it.
Yeah.
So now you're on another guard. You got to win that spot.
I think one of the, and again, I'm not trying to be negative here, but again, I hope the refs let the Giants play and don't, and they call holding penalties, because I think we're going to be held a lot in this game. So I hope that the officials call a fair game with that. So, okay. So you got them winning. I've got them losing. We'll come back, and I hope you're right. And if you are right, then my belief in this team will get a little higher. So, and then the people that are starting to question whether Brian Daboll should go or not are going to be upset if they wanted him to go, because the more games the Giants win, the more likely Brian Daboll is going to stay. And then that's just the truth of the matter. So we'll have to see what happens.
And I'll say this: if the Giants win this game, I would expect by end of the day Tuesday they've acquired a wide receiver.
Okay,
I think they'll jump on it pretty fast, especially heading into Philadelphia. They'd want to get that if they could, if they can pull it off.
That's a good guess. Yeah, because again, like I said, the longer you wait, the least likely he's going to help you. He's got to get caught up to speed. You have 3 practices during a week, and one of them is a walkthrough. So the wide receiver who comes in is not going to be able to contribute a ton. Simple stuff, but not anything involved. So they got to get it, because we'll be down to 10 games left at that point too. So, and then the trade deadline is rapidly approaching.
So with that, that's what we got. We'll free up your Saturday. Do me a favor, please, like. If you haven't subscribed, we're almost to 1,500. That'd be great if we could get to 1,500. That'd be awesome. But I will put this up later today. It'll show up on Spotify and Amazon and Apple and all that good stuff. Just give me a little bit of time on that. And we'll be back. We'll let you know which day next week, but hopefully it's following a win. And go Giants, and let's see. Lose Philadelphia, lose Washington, although it sucks to have Dallas win, but it does benefit. So with that, we'll catch you again real soon, and thanks for joining us on Saturday.